What up, it's your boy, Dick Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again, and I just finished Zack Snyder's Justice League, and oh my god, that's how you make a movie! From now on, that's how you make a movie! Let's get into it, man. That movie was 100% legit, man. Oh my gosh, that movie was off the rails. Now, I'm spoiling some stuff right here, and I'm gonna put it right. I'm gonna put it in some big bold flashing letters across the screen. I am spoiling stuff. I'm talking about stuff that's gonna be spoiled. I ain't breaking this down into two different videos, spoiled and not spoiled. I'm spoiling stuff in this video. So if you don't want to be spoiled, like if you're at work and you ain't got off and you ain't had a chance to watch the movie, don't watch my discussion slash review, because I'm finna spoil everything. I'm giving you all the tea, okay? Dude, this movie was 100% legit. Those 4 hours, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that they zoomed by, because they did not. But those 4 hours were captivating, man. Like, you were entranced in everything in those 4 hours. It got a little slow, but like, it wasn't slow to where you wasn't paying attention. It was slow to where you were still engaged in everything that was happening. You were still feeling like you were watching the movie, not like you were like, okay, well, this didn't have to be here. Everything that was in this movie, it felt like it needed to be there. Sure, some of it might have could have got cut short a little bit, but if it gets cut, like if certain things get cut out, then we deal with the Joss Whedon version. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you cut something minuscule, something this big out of that movie, it'll feel like the Joss Whedon version, because everything that got put into this movie, it had significant importance for me. I don't know how anybody else felt, but for me, it was just better, man. Overall, everything was just better. The pacing, the plot, the storytelling, the tone, everything in this movie went up notches compared to the original. So, well, this is the original, but the one that was released in theaters a long time ago. So, those moments that like I was saying, like, there was a little slow, like, even if a part of them got cut out, this movie still wouldn't have been the same. So having every inch, itty bitty piece of that movie made this movie what it is, and made it be great and wonderful and fantastic and everything. And they cut out so much of this, like added, cut out, however you want to put it, like, so much of the stuff that we seen in the Joss Whedon version. I'm assuming that was strictly Joss Whedon's ideas, but all of the stuff they cut out all of, like, the comedy stuff. There was still comedy in this movie, but like, they cut all the extra comedy stuff out. It was just like the comedic scenes that was flowing into the action sequences and everything that they kept in. Like, all of the extra side note comedy, they cut all that out, because it was a serious movie, man. And the little comedy that they did leave sprinkled across throughout the movie, it hit. Like, it didn't miss. It was spot on, and it felt like something the characters would say. It was something that you could definitely hear coming from those characters. Like I said, like, it was a little slow, but I feel like if you had cut some of those parts out, you would have missed it, and it wouldn't have felt the same. First of all, I love the part how it broke up everything. It broke up into, I want to say, hold on, matter of fact, I had to pull it up. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. It broke up into 6 chapters, and then we had the epilogue. The epilogue itself just speaks volumes, but it broke up into these 6 chapters, which kind of focused on a lot of the characters individually. Within these 6 chapters, everybody pretty much got highlighted in within these 6 chapters, but what I mean by highlighted, it didn't take in one chapter is about this character, one chapter is about this character. No, it's like, within those chapters, yeah, it highlighted some characters, but at the same time, it kind of just focused on other people as well. It just didn't just take one whole chapter and, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do in this whole chapter. This is what we're doing in this whole chapter. No, it broke it down, and it highlighted certain people in those chapters, but you still kind of got to see everybody else be involved as well. So I love that part. Now, let's talk about the action. Now, the action was on another level, man. It, like, watching this one and then thinking back about what happened and how everything played out in the Joss Whedon version, like, you can see that, like, they just cut and trimmed and shaved and tweaked and twitched and everything else until there was nothing left in the original, man. 100%. If you watch the original, like now and then watch this one back to back, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this can't be the same movie. It's, oh my gosh, man, like they cut out so much stuff, and the stuff that we got in this movie with the action and the characters themselves, it was legit, man. You felt everything. You felt every hit. You felt every move, and everything just looked good. The tone of the movie screamed like it was setting up, you know, the Dark Side and Steppenwolf and type thing. Like it felt like end of the world apocalypse type movie. Like it needed to feel like that. Like I said, with the comedy, it was sprinkled throughout the movie. Like it didn't just like break up until we have those whole comedy scenes here and there. Like it was sprinkled throughout the movie, in which with each individual character, it felt like something they would say. Now, I talked about the epilogues, the action, the comedy. Let's talk about some spoilery stuff, man. Okay, dude. First of all, I have got to give up props to my boy Henry Lennox. And if you don't know who Henry Lennox is, I'm trying to think of some. He's on the Blacklist, and you know he plays on the Blacklist. And in the movie, he's Martian Manhunter. Like I told you, I'm spoiling some stuff. So like if you're at this point, man, please, you know, whatever, screw it. He's Martian Manhunter, and the moment that we see him on screen is when he comes in and he's portraying as Martha Kent talking to Lois, because now we see that Lois she's in a rut. She's going to like the little, well, Clark's spaceship every day, and she's delivering coffee to the cop that's on patrol, and she's just going there to kind of reminisce and think about Clark, because she can't move on without him. He's the only love for her. He's the only man she's ever loved. Like she can't live her life without him. And we see the Martian Manhunter portraying as Martha Kent to get her, to convince her that, you know, well, you need to live and rejoin the living. Now that's the only point that we see him in the entire movie until towards the end. And that moment made an impact because he went to her as Martha Kent, spoke to her to convince her to move on and well, not so much as forget Clark, but to rejoin the living. And, you know, you can have a life even if Clark is dead. And then he goes into the hallway and was like, well, because the world still needs you. And then he transforms. It was legit. And this Martian Manhunter looks good, man. He looks good. He looks like an alien, man. He needed to have the details in the designs, but he still has the little X, like how it's crossed out on his chest and with the red, and he looks legit, man. He looks legit, and you can still hear his voice, and like they kind of like you see his face under the Martian's face a little bit. So like it's nice the way they set everything up, and it was just nice seeing him on screen because I love the Martian Manhunter as a character. Now, what I mean about this movie in particular, you know, how it showcased all these characters, like Lois herself, since we were talking about Lois herself, in the original, we just see her pretty much not grieving a little bit. Like we see a little bit of her walking around depressed, but then boom, bam, she pops up with Clark when he's revived, and boom, bam, next thing you know, him and Lois live happily ever after. This time in this movie, we see her going through like the grief. We see her being hurt and just traumatized that Clark is not there anymore. So when Clark gets revived and they have their little connection in their moment, it feels like it means so much more because we saw her grieving. Well, the same thing like with Martha. She loses the form. We see her packing up her bags, thinking about her husband and her son and at their grave sites, and then she's leaving with a U-Haul in the back of her truck. So when she leaves, we feel her losing the form, and she doesn't want to stay there anymore anyway because she lost her family. It's just too big for her. Like her losing the form and her not wanting to be there, we feel that. And when at the end of the movie, when Bruce buys the bank to give her and her son back the house, it feels so much more. You feel so much more impactful because it actually felt like it meant something now. And to go along with the same lines is Silas Stone and Vic, aka Cyborg, like their whole father-son, you know, conundrum and what they were going through, like it felt really short-sighted in the Joss Whedon version. But even Ray Fisher, I'm not trying to knock dude, and because I know he went through a whole bunch of trouble and stuff going on with WB, just dealing with WB, but in this one, his whole part with his father, it felt like his whole conversations, his whole interaction, like, and when his father sacrificed himself, like it meant so much more because like we got to see it build and budding from the entire beginning of the movie. And I gotta give props to Ray Fisher because they didn't do him any justice in the Justice League in the Joss Whedon version, because they kind of just stifled his whole entire character. Cyborg fell flat for me in the Joss Whedon version, but in this one, he wasn't a cookie cutter, paper cutout character. He felt like he was an actual member of the team. He felt like a real character, and Ray Fisher actually done Cyborg some justice for me in this in the Snyder cut. Like, the Snyder cut just hits different, man. It's a better movie. It's a better movie. Like I said, the cyborg thing, like their connection felt better when his father sacrificed himself. You could kind of feel Vic going through those emotions, and see that he's a little hurt and traumatized because, you know, he had some things that he wanted to say to his father, and he realized that his father just sacrificed himself. Like, there's so many things going on, but like, you kind of understand it and you get a better grasp of it, and then instead of it being the cookie cutter playing cutout cyborg that we dealt with. Arthur, we get to see a little bit more of Arthur's rough exterior, and we get to we don't understand, but like we see that that's just who he is. And then, you know, you'd have to watch Aquaman to really get like a different, but we see that's who he is, and that's pretty much what we get this entire movie. There's like no, well, I wonder why he's acting like this. Why he all of a sudden he's not, you know, like we see that's how, like, the rough exterior is kind of, you know, what he puts out. But then at the end of the movie, when he starts to care about Cyborg, we see that was always there. It's just that, you know, he never really had trust and faith in the Atlanteans or anybody, because, you know, his mom left and abandoned him, and he was raised by his father. So he was kind of like and he felt like an outsider. You know, you learn all of that stuff. So when he cares for Cyborg, like right there towards the end of the movie, you feel that as well. You feel everything that's taking place in action. Let's speak action sequences. The action sequence where Bruce was going to sacrifice himself, taking down the parademons, that whole scene, it's just been changed, man. The whole thing just looks better. The tone and everything, it just looks better with the Snyder version, and the Snyder cut, Snyder version, take your pick, and it just looks better, and the characters are surrounding around Bruce, and it just feels like a good, that's exactly what it is, man. It's a good movie. This is a good movie, and I ain't talking about like G-O-O-D, I'm G-O-O-T, good. This is a good movie, man. It's so legit. Oh, Clark, let's talk about Clark for a moment. The whole interaction in the Joss Whedon version, it felt like, okay, well, they revived him and boom, bam, something happens. But in this one, we get the whole breakdown. Like, maybe we shouldn't do this. There's warning signs. The whole little foreseen future glimpse type thing going on with Cyborg. Barry kind of getting the miscommunication. There's so much going on. And all of this, everything that I'm speaking about takes place in all of these 6 chapters, man. And it's just crazy. And it's just bombarding you with all of this stuff. But it pays off at the end of the movie, and it makes you feel like a connection to everything. And it isn't just putting this stuff out there and then, oh, okay, well, this is the payoff. No, it puts it out there and it gives you a nice, wonderful payoff, and you kind of feel every little piece that's going in. All of this itty bitty stuff, like, sure, it is dragging out, but it pays off. Now, the only problem I would have with the movie is Steppenwolf, man. Steppenwolf still sucks as a character. It's just, I just wasn't feeling Steppenwolf at all. He looks better. I give him that. He, like, his whole outfit and design, like with the little moving metal armor and it kind of covers. He looks better. He looks 100% better. He looks cooler. He seems like a legit villain, but he just doesn't do anything for me, man. Steppenwolf just didn't do it. Even in the Snyder version, I just wish they would have got somebody else, because in this movie we see Darkseid, we see the Seed, we see I'm hoping, because that's what it looked like to me, Granny Goodness, when we see the portal of the boom tube and everything. So like, there's a lot of stuff going on. So anybody else would have been better than Steppenwolf, man. While we're talking about that, dude, we also get to see a Green Lantern, which was legit. I mean, it is what it is, but we saw him. I mean, let's give it up to that. But the fight that took place, like in like history, like where all the warriors of the world kind of combined with the Amazons and all that other stuff, that fight was legit, dude. I would love to just see a movie of that, man. Now that fight taking place, everybody putting in work, working together. Now that fight was 100% legit, and I felt that 100%, and I would love to see a movie of that kind of take place. They'd have to build it up with a nice little world, but I would definitely watch it if they set it up just right. Um, yeah, man, and then and you guys know how the story ends. Like they ended up defeating them, da 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 da. But like the defeating scene where they actually defeat Steppenwolf, my boy Barry. Come on, man! Like so much greatness went into it. We see Barry going back in time. Like he gets hurt, like he can't actually finish the thing, and then boom, bam, like everything just happens. But Barry goes back in time to actually resave the world. Like it's like how it happens is kind of a little confusing because he went back to a singular point that he didn't really get to in the first time. So you know what I'm saying? But with that, then you also kind of see the stuff that kind of played out, like everything Bruce is kind of thinking about, all of it kind of just combines together, and it doesn't really just kind of pan out, but it kind of sits right there in the back of your head. And then we get to the epilogue after they defeated Steppenwolf, because they just mollywopped, dude. Let's be 100%. It was legit. But like after they defeat Steppenwolf and everything is going back to normal, and we're dealing with the legit ending that we kind of see with the Joss Whedon version, we get an epilogue. Now we get this epilogue. Well, I'll take that back. Before we get to the epilogue, we see that like no, that was in the epilogue too, wasn't it? The whole Lex Luthor thing or whatever. That was a nice moment too. We get to see Lex Luthor with Deathstroke, and he's having this whole moment, and then he kind of just, he reveals Batman's identity to Deathstroke, and da 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 da. Then boom bam, we get to like the apocalypse part, because Darkseid had mentioned that he's just going to come and take over the world anyway, because the whole theme of the movie has been the anti-life equation revolving around Earth itself. Now, I don't want to go into the anti-life equation, because then that's just a lot of stuff that if like you're not a comic book fan, you wouldn't quite understand. I have to go all into depth, and there's certain parts that I don't understand because it's been a while. But the anti-life equation was set up around the whole movie and everything. So in this epilogue, we see that Darkseid has finally come to take over everything. We get like the apocalypse and everything, and that's when we see Apocalypse Batman, and we get to see the Joker. We see Apocalypse Batman working with the Joker, working with Deathstroke, working with Mirror, working with Cyborg, and we see Barry in this legit suit. Looks like a Knight of Armor suit, which looks freaking fantastic, man. It was legit, and I loved every single aspect of that whole apocalypse scene, because we get to see Batman in like this whole like darker mental capacity, because he's going through some stuff, man. Like he done went through some stuff. Some people have died. A lot of things have happened. We're talking about the multiverse. We see the Joker just go. Jared Leto, if this is the Joker we could have gotten and everything else, everybody would have loved Jared Leto, man. And he's just sitting on the hood of the car looking legit. He got a whole bunch of badges on him and everything. He's rocking a SWAT jacket, and he got some rubber gloves on. He looks legit, and he feels like the Joker. He feels a little demented, but he's not too far gone to where he's walking around in some suits and with a grill like he's a gangster. Yeah. Nah, man, he feels like a legit psycho, man. And then he ends up talking about Jason Todd. They're talking about a whole bunch of stuff, death. And then, like, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about in this movie, man. We get this, it's so much. You could talk about this movie for hours, but I'm about to make this video 20 minutes. There's no way, man. There's so much going on in this movie, but it's, in the epilogue, there's the characters. We find out that a couple people have done died. There's a lot of stuff going on, and at the very end, and we see Bruce wake up. And then boom, bam, he comes outside, he bumps into the Martian Manhunter, and he tells him that, you know what? You put everybody together, your parents will be proud, but I feel like seeing you guys work together and fight for this planet, I feel like now is my time to actually talk about and save and talk to walk and save this planet. So let's talk about it, man. Let's bring back the Snyderverse, because Snyder Cut was freaking legit, man. And this is 18 minutes. I gotta stop. This your boy, The Incredible Man. Don't forget to smash the like button till you can't smash it anymore. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out. I cannot complain, because today, I'm doing